If I had left 10 minutes earlier, I would have slept in my own bed that night. If I had not stayed at his house, I never would have stood in his living room while his mother looked at me with steady eyes and said words that changed everything. My name is Ethan. I am 24 years old, and I did not go looking for trouble. Trouble came leaking through my ceiling. I live in a tiny apartment in downtown Seattle, the kind of place where the kitchen sink is 3 steps from the bed and the walls are thin enough to know your neighbors better than you want. I work as a junior tech at a small IT company. Most days I fix Wi-Fi that is already unplugged, set up printers that hate people, and answer emails from clients who think restarting a computer is funny. It is not my dream job, but it pays the rent and keeps me fed. I am not a wild guy. I go to work, lift at the gym, play games at night. I had one girlfriend after college. We dated 6 months and broke up on a Tuesday. No yelling. She just said I felt half present. I did not know how to argue with that. After that, it was just me. I told myself I liked the quiet. Then one Thursday night, the rain reminded me that Seattle never really sleeps. I came home late, shoes soaked, hoodie damp. When I opened my door, I heard it, drip, slow and steady. I flipped on the light and saw water falling from a dark spot in the ceiling, landing right on my pillow. My one good pillow. I called my landlord. He sounded annoyed and tired. He talked about storms and old roofs and delays. Then he told me to stay with a friend for a few days and hung up. I stood there, staring at my bed filling with water, and realized I had nowhere to go. Then I thought of Ryan. Ryan has been my best friend since high school. We met in gym class and have been giving each other a hard time ever since. He works as a mechanic and lives in the suburbs in a real house with a yard and a driveway. And his mom lives with him. Her name is Laura. I had met Laura many times over the years. Birthday dinners, barbecues, holidays. She was always calm, put together, quiet but warm. She worked as a nurse. Her husband died when Ryan was a teenager, and she carried that loss without ever making it loud. I always thought she was strong in a way that did not ask for attention. I texted Ryan about the leak. He replied right away, "Get over here. Mom will say yes." So I packed a bag and drove through the rain. His neighborhood was quiet and clean, like the kind you see in commercials. Warm lights glowed through windows. When I knocked, Ryan opened the door and laughed at how soaked I was. Inside, the house smelled warm, like dinner had just ended. Laura stepped out of the kitchen, drying her hands. She wore a dark green sweater and black leggings. Her hair was pulled back. She looked tired but calm. "Ethan," she said, "you are welcome to stay as long as you need." I thanked her, called her Miss Hart out of habit. She smiled and told me to call her Laura. Hearing her name like that felt strange and personal, in a way I did not expect. Ryan set me up on the pull-out couch in the den. We ate leftovers and joked around. Laura listened more than she talked, but when she laughed, it felt real. Later, Ryan went to bed early for work, leaving me alone downstairs. I lay on the couch staring at the ceiling fan, telling myself it was just a few nights, nothing more. Still, my mind kept replaying small things, the way Laura said my name. The quiet, tired look in her eyes when she thought no one was watching. I woke up the next morning to the smell of coffee and biscuits. For a moment, I forgot about the leak, the landlord, everything. The house felt safe, lived in. Laura poured coffee for me without asking how I took it. She already knew. That day passed easily. Ryan went to work. I worked from the dining table. Laura moved around the house, humming softly. We talked during lunch. Nothing deep, nothing wrong. Still, something felt different, like the house was holding its breath. On the third day, Ryan packed a bag. Work training. He would be gone overnight. He told me to stay, said his mom liked the company. Laura did not argue. When the door closed behind him, the house felt quieter. Not empty, just smaller. Laura grabbed her coat for her evening shift and told me to make myself at home. She said it was nice knowing someone was there. That night, the storm came back harder. Rain slammed the windows. The power flickered. When Laura got home, tired from work, she made tea instead of coffee. We sat in the living room with the lights low, listening to the storm. The power went out completely a few minutes later. She lit candles. The room filled with soft light and shadows. The house felt different like that. Closer. We talked quietly. About loneliness. About feeling invisible. About how life can keep moving even when you feel stuck in one place. Then she looked at me in the candlelight, and the air changed. I did not know it yet, but that night was only the beginning. After the power went out, time felt slower. The candles made the room smaller, like the rest of the house had faded away. Laura sat across from me at first, holding her mug with both hands. The storm pressed against the windows, but inside, everything felt still. We talked about simple things, her work at the clinic, my job, and how strange it was to fix problems for people I never met. The conversation drifted easily, but there was something under it, something neither of us named. At one point she laughed softly and shook her head. "I forgot how quiet this house gets without Ryan," she said. I nodded. "It feels different when he is gone." She looked at me then, really looked, like she was deciding something. She told me about the nights after her husband died, how the house felt too big and too silent, how she learned to fill the time with routines, dishes, laundry, early mornings. She said being busy kept her from thinking too much. I listened. I did not interrupt. When she finished, she took a breath, like she had been holding it in for years. "Thank you for listening," she said. "Most people get uncomfortable when I talk about him." I told her it was okay. That I did not mind. And I meant it. The thunder rolled close, loud enough to make the windows shake. She jumped a little, then laughed at herself. "Still hate storms," she said. I told her I would stay awake until the power came back if she wanted. She smiled at that, but her eyes stayed serious. The candles burned lower. She stood to light another one, then did not sit back down. Instead, she stayed standing near the coffee table, close enough that I could feel her presence. She rested her arms across her chest like she was cold, even though the room was warm. "Ethan," she said, her voice quieter now, "can I ask you something honest?" I nodded. "Do you ever feel like your life has paused? Like everyone else is moving forward, and you are just waiting for something to start?" The question caught me off guard. I thought about my apartment, my job, the way my days all looked the same. "Yeah," I said. "More than I like to admit." She exhaled slowly. "Me too." She sat down beside me then, not touching, but close. Our shoulders almost brushed. The space between us felt loud. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. "I should probably go to bed," she said after a moment. "Long day tomorrow." "Yeah," I said, though I did not want the night to end. She stood again, then paused. She looked down at me, her face soft in the candlelight. "Thank you for staying," she said. "Not just tonight. These last few days. It has helped more than you know." Before I could answer, she reached out and squeezed my arm gently. Then she turned and walked toward the hallway. I watched her go, my chest tight with something I did not understand yet. I lay back on the couch, staring at the ceiling. Sleep did not come easily. My mind replayed everything. Her voice, her honesty. The way the house felt different when it was just us. Sometime later, I heard footsteps on the stairs. Soft. Careful. I sat up slightly. Laura stood at the bottom step, wearing a robe over her clothes. Her hair was loose now, falling over her shoulders. "I am sorry to bother you," she said. "The power is still out, and I cannot sleep. Do you mind if I sit with you for a bit?" "Of course," I said, my voice rough. She came over and sat on the armchair across from the couch. For a while, neither of us spoke. The storm outside had softened, but the rain still tapped the windows. She broke the silence. "I keep thinking about what you said earlier, about life feeling paused." I sat up more fully. "Yeah," she nodded slowly. "I thought my life would look different by now. I did everything right. Married young, built a family, worked hard, and then everything changed. Sometimes I wonder who I would be if I had made different choices. I thought about that too, about the paths not taken. Maybe we all wonder that, I said. She smiled faintly. She stood and walked closer, stopping just in front of the couch. The candlelight caught the lines of her face, not hiding them, but making them softer. She looked nervous now, not calm like before. "Ethan," she said, "I need to be clear about something. What I am feeling is confusing, and I do not want to pretend it is not there. But I also do not want to do something we cannot take back." I swallowed. "I appreciate you saying that." She took a breath. "When I look at you, I do not just see Ryan's friend. I see someone who listens, someone who sees me. And that scares me." My chest tightened. I stood up slowly so we were facing each other. "I do not want to cross a line that hurts you or Ryan," I said. "But I also do not want to lie and pretend I do not feel something too." Her eyes searched my face. The storm outside faded into the background. For a long moment we just stood there. Then she stepped back. "We should stop," she said quietly. "Not because it is wrong to feel this, but because we need time to understand it." I nodded, though part of me did not want to. "You are right." She smiled sadly. "Thank you for understanding." She turned toward the stairs, then stopped. "Good night, Ethan." "Good night, Laura." She went upstairs. I lay back down, staring at the dim room, my heart racing. I knew then that things would never feel the same again. Whatever this was, it had already started, and I had a feeling the hardest part was still coming. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, my mind replayed the way Laura stood in front of me, the fear and honesty in her voice, the way she stepped back even though part of her clearly did not want to. When morning finally came, it felt too bright, like the house was exposing something we had not agreed to talk about yet. I woke up before anyone else. The power was back on. The rain had stopped, leaving the world outside washed clean and quiet. I folded the blanket on the couch, trying to make the den look normal again, like nothing had happened. In the kitchen, I made coffee and waited. A few minutes later, I heard her footsteps on the stairs. Laura appeared in the doorway wearing a soft blue sweater and jeans. Her hair was pulled back, but not tightly. She looked rested and tired at the same time. "Morning," she said. "Morning," I replied. There was a pause. Not awkward exactly, but careful. We both knew something had shifted, and we were trying not to step on it too hard. "Ryan texted me that he would be home late afternoon," she said, pouring herself coffee. "Training ran long." "Okay," I said. "I will probably work from here again if that is still fine." "Of course," she said quickly. "You are always fine here." She smiled, but it was softer than before. Protective. We sat at opposite ends of the table, sipping coffee. The normal sounds of the house filled the space between us. The fridge humming, a car passing outside. After a moment she spoke. "About last night." I looked up. "Yeah, I meant what I said," she continued. "I do not regret being honest. I just need to move slowly. For Ryan. And for myself." I nodded. "I get that. I do not want to rush you or push you into anything." Her shoulders relaxed a little. "Thank you." The day settled into a strange calm. I worked. She ran errands and answered emails from the clinic. We crossed paths in the kitchen, exchanged small smiles, nothing more. It felt like walking around something fragile on the floor, careful not to break it. Around noon, she made lunch again. Simple. Soup and bread. We ate quietly, but the silence felt comfortable now, like an understanding instead of tension. "You know," she said suddenly, "Ryan talks about you more than you think." I raised an eyebrow. "That sounds dangerous." She laughed softly. "He says you are the only person who ever tells him when he is wrong without making him feel stupid. He trusts you." That hit me harder than I expected. "He is my brother in all but blood," I said. "I would never want to hurt him." Her eyes softened. "I know. That is part of why this is complicated." In the early afternoon, she left for a short shift at the clinic. I stayed behind, the house quiet again. This time, the quiet did not feel lonely. It felt like waiting. When she came back, the sun was already low. She looked tired, but lighter somehow. She dropped her bag and leaned against the counter. "Long day," she said. "Want tea or coffee?" I asked. "Tea sounds perfect." I made it and handed her the mug. Our fingers brushed, just for a second. We both noticed. Neither of us pulled away too fast. "Ethan," she said quietly, "Ryan will be home soon. Once he is here, everything goes back to normal on the surface. Are you okay with that?" I thought about it. About pretending this was just another visit. About laughing with Ryan while something real sat unspoken between his mother and me. "I think we have to be okay with it," I said. "At least for now." She nodded. "I think so too." Ryan arrived an hour later, loud and full of energy. He complained about the trip, hugged his mom, slapped my shoulder, and went on like nothing in the world had changed. I laughed at the right moments, told him about my work, talked about the leak in my apartment. Laura moved around the kitchen, calm and steady, just like always. But every now and then, our eyes met across the room, just for a second. And in that second, I felt it again. The weight of what we were not saying. That night, after Ryan went to bed, Laura lingered in the hallway. I stood near the den, unsure whether to retreat or stay. She looked at me, her voice low. "Thank you for today, for being patient." "Always," I said. She hesitated, then stepped forward and hugged me. It was brief and careful, but her arms tightened just a little before she let go. "Good night, Ethan. Good night, Laura." As I lay on the couch again, staring at the ceiling, I realized something important. This was no longer just a moment. It was something we would have to face sooner or later, and I was not sure which scared me more. Losing her, or seeing what would happen if we did not. Ryan left early the next morning, rushing out the door with coffee in one hand and his keys in the other. He yelled a goodbye, promised to check on my ceiling later, and disappeared down the driveway. The house settled into quiet again. This time, the quiet felt heavier. Laura and I moved around each other slowly, like we were learning a new map of the same space. She cleaned the kitchen. I packed my laptop bag, planning to head into the office for a few hours. My landlord had finally texted back. Repairs would start the next day. One more night, maybe two. "I should probably go in today," I said, leaning against the counter. "Give you some space." She stopped wiping the counter and looked at me. "You do not have to leave because of me." "I know," I said. "I just do not want to make things harder." She studied my face for a moment, then nodded. "Okay, but come back tonight. Dinner will be ready around 7. The way she said it did something to my chest. Like an invitation and a promise wrapped into one. I agreed and left before I could overthink it. Work was a blur. I fixed problems on autopilot, but my mind kept drifting back to the house, to Laura's voice, to the careful space between us, to the hug that still lingered on my skin. When I drove back that evening, the sky was clear for the first time in days. The house looked the same from the outside. Gray siding, porch swing, warm light in the windows. But I knew better now. I parked and took a deep breath before going in. The smell of food hit me right away. Laura was at the stove, sleeves rolled up, hair pulled back loosely. She looked relaxed, almost peaceful. "You made it," she said. "I always do," I replied. Dinner was quiet but easy. We talked about small things, a patient who made her laugh, a client who unplugged his router and blamed the internet. Normal stories. Safe ones. After we ate, she poured us both a glass of wine. She hesitated for half a second before handing mine over, like she was making a choice. "I do not usually drink on weeknights," she said. "Neither do I." We sat in the living room again, this time with the lights on. No storm, no candles. Just us, awake and aware. "Ethan," she said after a while, "I have been thinking all day." "That makes two of us." She smiled faintly, then grew serious. "I am not good at this, at wanting something that does not fit neatly into my life. I spent so long keeping everything controlled, safe." I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. You do not have to have it all figured out. She looked at me. That is easy to say when you are 24. Fair point, I said. But even at 24, I know when something matters. Her breath caught slightly. She set her wine down and stood. I followed her movement with my eyes as she walked to the window and stared out at the dark yard. Ryan will always come first, she said quietly, no matter what happens between us. I stood up and moved closer, stopping a few feet behind her. I would expect nothing less. She turned to face me. You say that now. I say it because I mean it, I said. I would never ask you to choose. Her eyes searched mine, like she was looking for cracks. She did not find any. She stepped closer, close enough that I could feel her warmth again. Then, I need to know something, she said. If this stays just between us for now, no promises, no plans, just honesty. Can you live with that? I swallowed. I can. She nodded slowly, then reached out and touched my chest, right over my heart. Her hands stayed there, steady and warm. I am not just a mom tonight, she said softly. Hearing it again, without the storm, without the darkness, made it feel even more real. Neither am I just a guest, I replied. That was all it took. She leaned in, not hesitating this time. The kiss was slower than before, deeper, less fear, more choice. Her hands slid to my shoulders. Mine settled at her waist. We fit together like this had been waiting. We broke apart only to breathe. She rested her forehead against mine. We should go upstairs, she said quietly. I nodded. Her bedroom was simple, clean, calm. It smelled faintly like laundry soap and lavender. She closed the door behind us, not locking it, but not leaving it open either. We moved slowly, talking, checking in, touching like every step mattered. There was no rush at all, just two people finally letting themselves feel something they had been holding back. Later, we lay side by side, the room dark and quiet. Her hand rested on my chest again, fingers tracing slow lines. This does not change who I am, she said, or who you are. No, I said, but it changes how we feel. She nodded. That is what scares me. She turned onto her side and looked at me. Do you regret this? I shook my head. Not even a little. She smiled at that. A real smile. The kind that reaches the eyes. Stay tonight, she said. Not as a guest. I stayed. When morning came, sunlight filled the room. Reality waited just outside the door. Ryan. The world. Consequences we had not named yet. But for that moment, with her beside me, I knew one thing for sure. There was no going back. I woke up before she did. Sunlight filtered through the curtains, soft and pale, laying across her face. Laura slept on her side, one hand curled near her chin, her breathing slow and even. For a moment, I just watched her. Not in a hungry way, in a quiet, careful way, like I was afraid moving would break something fragile. This was real now, not a storm moment, not candlelight confusion. Real. I slipped out of bed gently and pulled on my clothes. In the kitchen, I made coffee and tried to calm the nervous energy buzzing under my skin. Every sound felt loud. The kettle, the cabinets, my own thoughts. When she came downstairs, she looked different. Still calm, still strong, but there was something softer there now, like she had let herself rest for the first time in a long while. Morning, she said. Morning. She poured herself coffee and leaned against the counter across from me. We stood there quietly for a few seconds, both knowing we could not avoid the next part. Ryan will be home in an hour, she said. I nodded. I know. We need to be normal, she added, at least on the surface. I gave a small smile. I think normal is going to look different from now on. She smiled back, but there was worry behind it. Ethan, last night mattered to me. I do not want it to turn into something rushed or careless. Neither do I said. I am not asking for more than you can give. She studied my face like she was checking for cracks again. Then she nodded. Thank you. Ryan came home loud as always. He talked about work, dropped his bag, complained about traffic. Laura moved easily around him, warm and familiar. If someone had walked in, they would have seen nothing unusual. But every time she passed me, every time our eyes met, there was something unspoken there. A thread pulled tight beneath everything else. That afternoon, my landlord called. Repairs were done. I could go home. The word home felt strange now. I packed my bag slowly. Ryan helped me carry it to the door. He joked about charging me rent next time. Laura stood a few steps back, arms crossed loosely, watching. "Thanks again for everything," I said, meeting her eyes. "You are always welcome here," she replied. Her voice was calm, but her eyes held something else, something private. At my apartment, the ceiling was dry. The bed was clean. Everything looked the same, but it did not feel the same. The silence felt heavier now. That night, my phone buzzed. "Laura, did you get home safe?" "Yeah," I typed. "Thank you for asking." A pause. Then another message. "I keep replaying everything." "Me too." Another pause. "I do not regret it," she wrote. "But I am scared." "So am I admitted. "But I think some things are worth being scared for." The dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. "Ryan trusts us," she wrote. "That matters." "It does," I replied. "We move slow, we protect him, we are honest with each other." Several seconds passed. "Okay," she sent. From that point on, everything lived in the spaces between. Texts late at night, short looks when I stopped by. Conversations that said everything without saying too much. Weeks passed. One evening, she asked me to come over while Ryan was out. Just dinner. Just talk. That was all it took. We sat across from each other at the table, closer now, more sure. This was no longer a question of attraction. It was a choice we were making carefully, together. "Ethan," she said softly, "this cannot stay hidden forever." "I know. When the time comes, we tell him together," she said. Not as a shock, not as a betrayal. As the truth, I nodded. "I would not let you face that alone." She reached across the table and took my hand. Her grip was steady. "I never expected this," she said. "Not with you, not at this stage of my life." "Neither did I said. "But here we are." She smiled, a little sad, a little hopeful. And for the first time since it all began, I could see the future clearly enough to know one thing. The hardest part was still ahead. Ryan found out on a quiet Sunday afternoon. There was no storm, no dramatic moment, just sunlight through the living room windows and the sound of a lawnmower somewhere down the street. Laura asked him to sit. She asked me to stay. I could feel my heart in my throat. Ryan looked between us, already sensing something was different. "What is this?" he asked, half joking. "You both look like you are about to tell me the dog ran away." "We do not have a dog, Mom." Laura took a breath, the kind you take when you know there is no easy version of the truth. "Ryan," she said, "I need you to listen before you react, please." He frowned but nodded. "Okay." She looked at me for just a second, not for permission, for strength. Then she looked back at him. "Something happened while you were gone," she said. "It was not planned. It was not meant to hurt you. But it was real." Ryan's eyes moved to me. His face changed. Confusion first, then something sharper. "Ethan," he said slowly, "what is she talking about?" I swallowed. This was the moment I had replayed 100 times. "I care about your mom," I said, "more than I expected. We did not go looking for this. But it happened, and we did not want to lie to you." The room went silent. Ryan stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. "You are kidding me, right? This is a joke." Laura stood too. "It is not a joke," she said. "And I need you to know something before you say anything else. This is my choice. He did not pressure me. He did not take advantage of me. I am not confused, or lonely, or broken." Ryan stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. "You are my mom," he said, "and he is my best friend." "I know," she said softly. That is why this is so hard." He ran a hand through his hair and laughed once, sharp and humorless. "So how long has this been going on?" "A few weeks," I said. "We moved slow. We talked a lot. We tried to do this the right way." "There is no right way," Ryan snapped. He turned toward the door, pacing. "I thought you were crashing here because your apartment was leaking, that you were just hanging out. And this whole time." "This whole time," Laura said, "I was still your mother, still the same person who raised you. That did not change." He stopped pacing. His shoulders slumped a little. "I did not say it did," he said. "I just do not know where I fit now." That broke something in her. She stepped closer to him. "You fit exactly where you always have," she said. "You are my son. That will never change. Nothing about this takes that away." He looked at her then, really looked. At the woman who worked double shifts, who packed his lunches, who stayed strong when everything fell apart. He exhaled slowly. "I do not like this," he said. "I am not going to pretend I do." I nodded. "I would not expect you to. But," he continued, his voice quieter now, "I also know you do not do things without thinking them through. And I know Ethan is not a bad guy." That was the closest thing to relief I had felt in weeks. "I need time," Ryan said. "I need space. And if either of you hurts the other, I am done. With both of you." "Fair," I said. Laura nodded. "More than fair." Ryan grabbed his keys. "I am going for a drive," he said. "When I come back, I do not want this to be a secret. But I also do not want it thrown in my face." "It will not be," Laura said. When the door closed behind him, the house felt quiet in a different way. Not tense, just raw. She sat down heavily on the couch. I sat beside her, close, but not touching. "You okay?" I asked. She nodded slowly. "I think so. Whatever happens next, at least it is honest." A while later, Ryan came back. He did not say much. He went to his room, but he did not slam the door. That night, Laura and I did not touch. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, the TV on low, just existing in the same space. It felt important. In the weeks that followed, things settled. Not perfectly, but honestly. Ryan asked questions, some hard, some angry, some quiet. Laura answered everyone. I did too. We did not rush him, we let him lead. And slowly, something shifted. One night as I was leaving, Ryan clapped my shoulder. "I still think this is weird as hell," he said. "But if you hurt her, I will ruin your life." I smiled. Would not expect anything less. Laura laughed softly behind us. My apartment got fixed. Life went on. But some things were different now. My name is Ethan. I am 24. I stayed at my best friend's house because my ceiling was falling apart. And his mom looked at me and said, "I am not just a mom tonight." She was right. She is Laura. A woman. A mother. Someone who deserves to be seen. And somehow, against all logic, she chose me to see her. And I chose not to look away.